If not, as always, hope it gets better for you. So I'm not sure why my live stream is wanting to automatically start, but either way, we're here, and hopefully some of you guys find your way in here, and we can get this Q&A rolling. As you can see, we got a little bit different scenery here today. Hopefully the video and audio quality is doing good, and of course, well, these fish got camera shy, but let's pull them out. Trusty old tropical granules. But yeah, I wanted to hop on here and give you guys an update as well, because some of you guys may realize that my website is not currently working. So still dealing with that. Real pain in the butt, because I'm pretty much getting a goose egg every day. It's not working, and I'm trying to get this project down. So things are kind of leveraged a bit more than I would like them to be. But anyways, it should be done here within 7 days. A couple days ago, they told me could take up to 10 days for it to be done. They did put a priority ticket in for it, so don't worry about what it says on the page as far as this page could be under attack or private warning. You guys don't have to worry about any of that, and it is getting worked on. They're just having some troubles getting pictures on there where they should be from them moving platforms. So hopefully here soon we'll have that up and ready. So in the meantime, I've been hoping to get working on the project outside, and I realized yesterday I cannot lift a 16-foot by 10-foot by 2-inch board by myself on a ladder. And it was actually kind of dangerous, so probably gonna have to get the neighbors' help or something, or Lady LRB's muscles out to get those up. And since I figured out that that was my limit, I could not do that. I guess I'm gonna spend the next couple days until the weekend until I can get back to that, working on fish stuff inside. So actually kind of excited about that. Leopardo 0573 says, "Hello, Lucas. One of my tanks got overrun by hair algae. What is the best way to treat it manually? Just remove it." So yeah, best way to treat it is definitely manually remove all that you can, because even if you do kill it with, like, say, turning the lights off, dead, dying, decaying algae can actually cause a lot of more problems to where it becomes more sludgy. Where we'll look into this tank, I actually shot a short before I actually cleaned this up, and it was dealing with cyanobacteria. But sometimes, if you leave just the algae to just kind of like sludge down and die off, I don't know. It could be unsightly, and there's not a whole lot of stuff that, like, as far as microorganisms breaking it down, it takes us some time to naturally break down. So manually remove what you can, then shut your lights. Either you can either turn them back to not as long of a period, and or just shut the lights off for like a couple days, and that should help. Usually it's the time period. If you've got less light, a lot of these plants really don't need that much light. I've got good examples in the barn, which hopefully by this end of the month we'll be able to show you. But they only run for like 4 or 5 hours a day and get ambient light from the other rags, and hardly ever grow any algae in those. And the plants actually do really, really well. And then a water change too. Make sure after you remove that hair algae, do your water change, because the reoxygenation will help break down all those other little pieces that get into the water instead of letting them spread. Thanks, Deacon. You like it? It's a little different than most people's showcases. It's a little more wild, a little more natural. I absolutely love it. It is just like a little slice of some pond somewhere with some fish that you probably would not see out in the wild at all. And these fish, I've been wanting these fish forever. And Wesley's wanted his favorite color is red, so these were about the reddest angelfish I could get. And then I got the little red flatties in there too. I love it. Do I have a trident? So, not supposed to talk about that. It's a secret. Deacon Bean Cooter says, "Is it called hair algae because it comes in blonde, red, black, etc.?" No, definitely not. But that'd be wild. As it dies, it can turn into those colors. I have seen hair algae get black. I've seen it. I don't know if I've really seen it get red, but it can get like a bleachish blondish if it's dying out too. But it definitely it grows like hair. It gets everywhere. If you had hair or got a loved one that has hair, even dogs like hair gets everywhere, and so does that algae. Fancy mustache ceiling fan. Now that is a proper name for sure. Fancy mustache ceiling fan. I like all that. My back be itchy. Can I use a common Placo as a back scratcher? I mean, you probably could. They're pretty rough. Might be a little scratchier than you may be looking for, but if you got like one of those tough, rigid, big backs, it could be what you're looking for. Definitely could be. And I am at the bottom of the chat, so if you got a question, that's where I'm at. And if not, I don't even know what to ramble on about because I've tried to tell you guys all what was going on. No, it wasn't really quite my week this week, but we'll get things rolling. Every week can't be your week. I'm still just happy to be doing what I'm doing. And glad you guys could join me as well. And figured I'd at least get up here and update you guys because I was running a little late. Wasn't even sure if I was even going to be able to do this Q&A for you guys. But I went ahead and took some time. I was trying to get some things done in the fish room, like top offs and stuff that like really got to get done right now. Leopardo 0573 says Lucas did the blushing tetras breed. So they did not, and I think that they need like more of a RO, softer water or rainwater. So I am going to try to collect some rainwater. I do have a tub that I had moved from doing my project outside that sat right underneath where all the rain kind of runs off the roof, and it pretty much filled it up. So I do got a decent amount of rainwater out there right now. I was kind of thinking about putting the blushing tetras out there. It's starting to cool off at night a little bit. Like it's still low 60s at night. So I don't know like if they're really much of late season spawners as far as like knowing fall's coming. Most fish are kind of more of a spring summer spawners. So I don't know if I'll try them outside or not. Plus that's a risky move. They're pretty bright and they could definitely attract some things that I really don't need attracted out there right now. I'm trying to do my best to get that covered up before something does get attracted to my fish back there. But definitely would like to work on the blushing tetras again. I need softer water for them. House of Pisces says, "Did that tank have the goldfish before?" Yes, this was the goldfish tank before, where it was the no filter original goldfish tank. This is where they had their first babies. Then now they're living large in that what is it, 470 gallon? It's either 370, 470. I can't remember now. But big pond, bigger pond, and having lots more babies themselves. Which I'm excited that I actually had a lot of those goldfish. I actually moved those around. All the little babies that I had, I kind of consolidated them. I have some that are like runts, so they're like little mini goldfish. And then moved quite a few of them outside too, so they're like my cleanup crew outside. They're really useful. Deacon Bean Cooter says, "Do baby snails require extra of anything?" Not really, no. I wouldn't say so. As long as they got things to graze on and have an environment to graze on, that's the biggest key factor. So like a tank like this where there's no filter and it's just really just nature doing its thing, there's so much for a snail to snack on in here. There's really not much for them. There's actually a few pond snails. I guess I see a ram's horns, but I see like I think only 3 here, and they're big ones, big ones. Probably because the goldfish they lived with before and the Oscar. This is where the Oscar was. So we're doing the filterless Oscar in here. And the biggest thing with the Oscar and keeping an Oscar and no filter is the fact that Oscars and like cichlids in general are just dirty eaters. As far as like when they eat something, they express stuff out of their gills. Then that's when it can kind of be a little harder to have like a decent looking no filter tank with them, because one, you or at least without like doing no maintenance. If you do your maintenance, it's not so bad. But they'll kick food crumbs everywhere. And then sometimes you'll get like that little fungus that grows over, which I didn't ever hurt them. Now he's living large in a pond outside. Am I actually gonna have to bring him in? I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with him. I want to have to move him before it gets cold. Shy town Pat. I hope you remember. Deacon and Bean Cooter says, I like your shirt. Question: do you sell fishy shirts? So I do not, but I was thinking about getting back to like the merch here once I get this project done outside, and I feel like things are more secured out there and a lot of the pressure is off. I am planning on becoming more of a YouTuber. I know for you guys, I have been more on my fish lately, and that will change. And then I'll end up getting some merch, and then we'll do some fish shirts and stuff. I think that'll be fun. South Bay Sapphire says, "How's the Medeca from Medeca Fiend doing? Will you be selling some of the fry from them in the future?" So I actually have some fry, decent size of them, a couple generations of them now. And as far as selling them, it'll probably be a while till I sell um, those. Just because I want to see how they line out really and what they kind of throw. One of the lines is doing pretty decent. The other line definitely needs work. So we'll see how that all goes. And a big reason why I got to get that back um, taken care of, because a lot of those tubs out there, they're getting filled up fast. Deacon Bean Cooter says, are predator snails a thing? Assassin snails? That's the only one I can think of, but doesn't mean there isn't any out there that I may not know of for sure. You would totally get a mad scientist shirt. You've been wanting one. Yeah, see, I was thinking about doing those. I actually need to get the third one done of the trilogy, because there's supposed to be a trilogy with that artwork between the scientist and the mad scientist. Next one will be like the Buddhist or the one at peace. I don't really want to classify it towards a religion. Buddhism really isn't much of a religion. It goes along with like Taoism and all that. All right, at the bottom of the chat, if you got a question, that is where I'm at. Unless you guys want to go on a higher conversation of spirituality. No. Could do that too. Silent says, what happened to your fish selling website? Bro, I'm in pain right now. They changed platforms on me. I was supposed to be able to import my items to my new website. Easy peasy. You copy it, you download it, you add it on there. 419 items over the years is what we collected on that website, which I was kind of surprised there was that many. But went to go do it myself, did not work. Errors on their sides galore. They didn't make it easy. They didn't make it like plug and play at all. So I ended up having to call them up and be like, this isn't working. What can I do? Instead of running through it, they were like, well, we can just do it for you for like a small nominal fee, which, you know, I don't know, depends on your budget if it's small or not. But it's big enough for like I shouldn't have to be paying for it because it's what they're changing. But I did get a deal on my website for the next 5 years, so it's all paid off for the next 5 years. They had the half off. I was like, might as well do it. But anyways, they're supposed to take 24 to 48 hours to get those pictures, get all the products moved over, and then they said they hit a bump, and then it may take up to 10 days. And I heard that news a couple days ago. And they did put it in as a priority ticket because I said I can't eat or pay my bills. You know, this is pretty much this is what I live off of. YouTube doesn't really pay me much anymore. And so hopefully they prioritize that and get it going here sooner than later. So it's been kind of rough. I try not to stress about it because, you know, it'll work out in its time, and try to spend my time working on other stuff that needs to get done instead, like working in the fish room and trying to get this project done. And that was another reason why I paid for them to help me because I didn't really have time to plug all those items in. There's no way I could have done that. But yeah, so hopefully sooner than later it will be done. I'll be B43 says, speaking of that white fungus, what to do if it starts to spread? I have a tank crash because of this, like downward spiral of plants decaying is happening again. Any tips? So yes, if you do get that white fungus that does spread, um, now I've seen it in situations with like my axolotls and my Oscars that it didn't ever cause any problems, and I think it's because it may be a different type of fungus. But when you get more of a fungus from like excessive foods, then that's when it does and can become a problem. Because even if there's some of that food left, that fish is hungry enough to try to eat it, then maybe it's when they ingest it, it becomes a problem. But what you can do is siphon off the bottom. So you're going to want to have to get a hose, and I would get a smaller gauge hose because smaller the gauge of hose, the longer you'll have to clean up the bottom, kind of siphon up what you can. If you get a big gauge hose, you don't have long because it's going to pull that water fast. So something to think about when you're doing that, trying to pull out stuff. And then that's the best way to do it. Siphon it and then water change. Only do small water change though, because you do not want to do a big water change. I would go to 25, 30% tops. Tops. Do not go to 50. Because if you got that fungus and you got your beneficial bacteria, you got to think that there's all this microorganism stuff going on in the water column. And when you bring that more sterilized water into the column of your aquarium, it takes longer for this that is already natural and matured to take over the new water. And if you have more of the new water than the old water, then it gives a chance for the fungus to run faster than the beneficial stuff. So it's kind of like having a petri dish full of microorganisms and then putting certain bacterias on a new petri dish. And if there's a bigger colony of said like a fungus or something, it could take over the newer petri dish faster. So that's how you kind of want to think about your microbiology in your water when you're doing your water changes and stuff. If you're having issues like that, if you're not having issues, it's not a big deal. You can do 50% easy, a lot easier. But if you're having issues, you don't want to give those issues room to run become more of an issue. And the only way to really um like keep that stuff down, like even like bad bacterias, you can beat them with good bacterias. As long as you feed the good bacterias and not so much the bad bacterias for what can have problems with them. And Chris Stowell, thank you, dude. so much. That is huge. $20 super chat says, hope this helps with the website bill. Dude, it definitely does. Because right now the only check I got coming is YouTube at this point. So hopefully it happens sooner than later. The stocks are at least taking a little breather as far as their breeding and stuff. But yeah, that is definitely helpful right now. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. And I'm so glad we got this like good Wi-Fi around here. Like even though I'm moving my hands around, is the Wi-Fi still doing good? South Bay Sapphire says, I tried to buy some more trout Goodiads from you and the website was not working. Also reference people to you for those Goodiads and they said the same thing. Well, thank you for referencing me for those. And I do have a bunch of them ready. Just like I mentioned, we're waiting on the website to get done. So brand new website coming. They kind of forced me to the platform. Me myself personally always never changed the website because people are familiar with what they're familiar with, and I'm always a fan of like keeping something how I want it, instead of it always changing. Like I feel like it's a pain for the consumer when they're constantly trying to change it up and make it more of a challenge for you to get what you want. So um, I was forced into changing the website, but I am happy with how it's going to turn out, and hope you guys will be too. Just can't wait for it to get done. What website? LRBAquatics.com. Leopardo0573 says, "Have you tried Fiverr to make another website?" No, I haven't. So all the other stuff, design, everything ran. Even with the old website, I set and did all that stuff myself. I do all my updates. I do all of it on the back end. Um, that's why sometimes it can be harder for me to be a YouTuber sometimes. But at the same time, I've got a lot more control with it that way, and I don't have to worry about other people like not either doing their job. Like GoDaddy's taking its time right now, and plus, I don't really have the money to be paying people for other stuff. I literally dump all my money into aquarium stuff. For you guys who have been following me for a long time, I was actually thinking about this. Like, I have dumped pretty much everything I've made, at least in the last 10 years, for the most part, on my fish stuff. Like, I might be addicted. I just might be a little addicted. And imagine just like the years and years and the money I'm putting into this. But you know what? Like it does help me feed my family. It does let me live a life that I would like to live, and I definitely feel blessed about it. I'm not. It's not gonna probably make me a millionaire, but I get to enjoy a lot of fish. Dan Ingalls, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Says same. Hope it goes to where it needs to. Yes, it definitely will be helpful. Everything helps feed the cause of this aquarium addiction that I do have. Even though I don't really want to call it an addiction because really it's a lifestyle. I mean, a lot of people pick what they want to do with their lives as far as the job goes. And this is the one I picked. And it took me a while to figure that out that, like, I don't have to be stuck in a job, I can pick my job. When you figure that out and start looking at life like that, I hope it can bring you more happiness if you're not already. Deacon Bean Cooter says fish versus bird, bird versus fish. Who wins? I do not even want to think about that, Deacon. That's a big reason why I'm trying to get that enclosure outside done. Fish usually wins against bird for sure. I mean, bird usually wins against fish for sure. I don't think Very rarely does a fish get a chance to win. Kitty, kitty. Oh no, kitty wants in here. She's meowing. Hopefully, Lady LRB is listening and she can come let kitty in. Oh, there she is. Hey, kitty. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear. Probably not because I'm on this mic. What you doing? Yeah, you can't really climb up here, huh? Yeah, sweet little baby. Silence says my female endlers periodically get white fuzz on them like a fungal infection, but then act completely normal and it eventually goes away. What is that? And should I, excuse me, be worried? I don't really know. As far as what's causing that's what I would wonder because maybe there's something. Is there something else in the tank with them that could be battling them? Kitty, that's not the best spot. Hey, whoa. She's gonna knock down the camera. Hey, hey. So literally there's a cat down here about to knock you guys off. What are you doing, kitty? Ay, ay, ay. But yeah, usually that could be caused from like fighting. So when fish get like these mysterious fungusy like looking whitish spots on them sometimes from say like a scab or a infection. Imagine our scabs when they're under the water, they turn white, right? That's pretty much how fish are too. So if there's something else in that tank that could be pecking at them, that could be a cause. There is a thing called calcium cyst as well. I highly doubt that it's a calcium cyst. Not sure if guppies get them or not. I know some fish can get calcium cyst. And as far as like if it's an actual fungus, it rarely usually is. Water changes, having good beneficial bacteria, like a good amount of that, can be a big role as far as like keeping that kind of stuff down, like funguses. That way, you put more beneficial bacteria instead of fungus into the, you know, environment, the ecosystem of your aquarium. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have something else in that tank because it's not often that like male endlers will pester a female enough to like actually blister her up. But if the ratio is off where you have a ton more males and not enough females, there's a potential of that. And holy moly, Danimal, Animal Cracker, dude, appreciate you so much. Throwing down a $20 super chat says, hello, Lucas. First time I caught a live in a while. Hope you're living your life well. I've been traumatized this week by national news, but the fish room is escape. Just wanted to say hello and God bless. Well, God bless to you too, brother. Thank you so much for the support. Really coming out at a good time because very helpful right now. And dude, glad you could make it to a live stream. We've missed you, and always good to see you around here. And yeah, the news be crazy, you know, but you can't let that stuff get to you. And God works in mysterious ways, and consciousness will help save us, hopefully, because it's getting bananas out there. But you can't worry. I mean, worrying just doesn't help. Let's see. South Bay Sapphire says, have you thought of being a part of the Goodiads conversation? Recently got blue-tailed Goodiads, tequila split fin, and trout Goodiads. Which conversation? I mean, I usually don't have time for like chats and like discords and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I mean, I wish I had more free time for that kind of stuff, but all the things that I gotta take care of and while I'm building. That's why I'm hoping whenever I get this enclosure done and built that you know, I'm gonna have a lot more free time for stuff like that. But yeah, currently not at the moment. I can't. Just a little bit to bring them out. Try to find my. Oh, here where it was. Lucas, this takes me back to the old house when you did the live in front of a featured tank. I know, right, Asaya? I'm liking it. LBB43 says too much waste. Would the siphon remove them also? Too much waste. Would the siphon remove them also? Well, as long as you don't like suck up your fish, you gotta be careful with it if that's what you mean. But yeah, sometimes too much waste can do that. But if you got enough beneficial bacteria, like this tank, it's hard to have too much waste in here. There's actually, I see a bunch of green poop at the back of this, actually quite all over it. Probably from them just eating the algae because when I don't throw the granules in, they graze on the algae like the whole time. But when you have a natural tank with a lot of beneficial bacteria, the waste isn't so much of a problem. And this is where filters play a good role too. And one of the reasons why people use filters, although this is no filter, those filters hold that beneficial bacteria that break down the waste and ammonias and all kinds of stuff. So that dirty brown mold is really your friend. There's a difference between mold and poop. Poop's usually shaped. I don't think fish really get diarrhea much. Chow, chow, chow. All right, let's see. Eric Gunther says, having to have a video on this tank, like how you set it up, how you managed to get the dense plants. So it all came from this. Actually, was all this at one point. I had to rip all that out, but so it started off as my no tech goldfish tank, no tech, no filter goldfish tank, because it was just literally powered by the ambient light of the sun out there. But then you couldn't see the goldfish really well, so I did end up getting a light. That way I could display the fish better, because it does make a difference. But that's the reason why it has a lot of algae, is because it is right against a window and there's no paint on the back. If I were to paint the back of this, it wouldn't have as much algae as it does. Wouldn't be such an issue. But I do have a video from those goldfish. So if you type in LRB no tech goldfish tank, it'll kind of show you the whole history of how I set it all up, um, and how it's kind of transformed, because it went from goldfish and then it went to Oscar, and then now it's this angelfish tank. Which I will have a short coming up on this, because I think it did get some cyanobacteria. I don't know if it's really the algae transforming or if it is cyanobacteria, but we're treating it for cyano just in case. Because cyanobacteria can kill. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. I cannot find my spots now. Scrolling, scrolling. T-Moss Fish Enjoyer says, "Hey Lucas, is it bad to siphon every week? My crawdad tank has so much detritus and mold." That crawdad is gonna like that detritus and mold more than anything. That's actually one of its favorite things to graze through. So as it grazes through that moldy stuff, like that's what it naturally does. And the reason why you probably have a lot of it is because it does graze through your substrate and kicks a bit of it up. I wouldn't really be safe in it personally at all. JP Jeffrey says, "Hey Lucas, how many cans of tetracolored tropical granules do you go through in a month?" So it has been actually adding up to where sometimes I'll do like 2 a week. So probably I don't want to say 8. I don't go through 8. There's no way. Probably gonna say about 6, which isn't really too bad. Not bad at all. And I think that may be on the high side. That's cool, Leopardo. Mhm. Well, hopefully it was he brought my name up in a good fashion. Aquarium Fantasy says, Lucas, how was your week? Good, good to see you in here, dude. Actually, no, my week was not that good. It was actually kind of rough. The week leading up to this was good, but website's still not going, and I've got a bunch of wood outside that I had delivered. I realized I cannot hold 10 by 16 foot by 2-inch treated lumber over my head and put it up myself. So now I've got a lot of wood that are sitting. And if you guys know anything about treated wood, you do not want it to sit long. Like, you want to man that stuff up sooner than later, because especially in the Florida sun, it can start warping. And there's probably like $1,200 worth of wood out there right now that I'm hoping will not warp before I get it put up, which I've got it covered, and hopefully that helps. Yeah, between that and the website, I'm doing my best not to stress. Leopardo 0573 says, Lucas, what is your opinion on mulm? I think it's overrated in the hobby. Mulm is natural and beneficial. Every healthy ecosystem has it. Yes, definitely, definitely. It's more helpful than, there's a reason why they call it beneficial bacteria. They don't call it non-beneficial bacteria. So even in filters, that's where a lot of that stuff helps out. Actually, some of my biggest tanks with the most fish in them were filters that had the dirtiest, molmiest media in them. Now, there is a difference where it can play a role. So when you have clean filters and a lot less of the mold and detritus, yes, you're going to have an easier time with not having algae sometimes. Sometimes. But there's a reason for that, because as this stuff breaks down, other stuff breaks down, it becomes more of a natural system to where the algae finally has stuff to feed off of, which is good for the systems. It's just us personally, and especially people who are like hardcore aquascapers that do not want to do that maintenance of trying to get the algae down and trying to keep at it all the time. So they try to minimalize the potential for algae to grow, which usually coincides with trying to keep everything as sterile as possible, which is great for the landscape if you're going for that, but not as great for your fish. When it comes to fish, they love this dirtier stuff way, way better than they love the sterile systems. Way much better. So to me, it's more about my livestock and my fish in them. And I do not have much more time on here to let you guys know. Because I do have to get to dinner and all that. So we'll probably end it here at the 45-minute mark. Garrett Bruin says, I have about 40 Madeca fry that are going to outgrow my 20-gallon. Can I keep them outdoors in coastal Georgia over winter? Yeah, definitely. Just, I mean, yeah, as long as you do not get like sea sprays, a lot of salt, which I don't even think that would bother them. But yeah, the temperatures you don't have to worry about in Georgia. LB43 says too much waste was continuing my reply because Word limit was about the white fungus crashing the system. Worms took over the substrate, and I think it overloaded the system. Should I just wait? So if the worms took over the system, there shouldn't have like came from food or anything like that, because if the worms are doing their job, they should be eating the food. I don't know why the worms would really cause much fungus, and usually that's actually something that can combat fungus is worms, unless it just became way overpopulated to where they died, and then like the dying off of some of those worms caused the reaction to where it was off balancing the natural microbiology to the point where it caused that fungus. And or you probably got cloudy water from it too. I'd imagine you got a bacterial bloom if that was dying off of worms. But usually worms are pretty helpful, and it's kind of hard to really kill them off from over populating. But it can happen if you notice that water was turning white before all this happened. That's kind of your signal to your tank being either overpopulated by too many shrimp, too many snails, or too many worms, and they start having a dying off. When you get that cloudy water, that's a huge signal trigger for that kind of stuff. You like that, Budo? Glad you can make it in here. Or do the water change like you said. Yeah. Just try not to overdo that water change. You want to do more frequent minimal water changes. Get out what you can, but the more you can do more frequent minimal water changes, then the better you can fight it without changing much of like the good stuff that's in there. So like do like a 15-20% first day, and then give it 2 days to marinate. Do another 15-20%, another 2 days to marinate, another 15-20%. That would be the idea kind of schedule to battle something like that. Well, thank you, Abby. I appreciate that. Oh, the conservation program. So, like the ALA, and I know a lot of those fish are kind of on the cares. I think a couple of the ones I may have, because I do got some other Goodiads that I just haven't really messed with or offered yet, and I got a ton of them. I actually need to do it later. It's just the fact that I don't have them organized and can't really organize them right now. Is the reason why I don't offer them. But so I try to go to the ALA when I can, but yeah, I don't usually sign up for that kind of stuff. It is good, but as far as the library, I feel like I will definitely always promote that stuff. Um, yeah, I usually don't have time to get into it as much, unfortunately. Stephen Lee says, "Hey Lucas, do you have any experience in treating camellanus worms?" So, I know fenbendazole doesn't work well with it. I think it's levamisole is what you need for the camellanus worms. You need to treat them with levamisole. As far as like the doses, the timing, I would take that on the medicine. But it's an internal parasite for sure. You gotta treat it as such, and you want to treat it. I think their life cycle is a month. If you get anything like those worms, stuff like that, always look up what that worm's life cycle is. That way, you know you can treat that tank for that time period to make sure that those worms aren't going to come back from, like, say, eggs or being in the substrate or something. Because that's when they can come back and be a pain. because you treat it, you think you got it done, you treated it for like 2 weeks, and then like maybe not come up next month, but a few months down the road, you're like, oh dang it, again. And say if you had fish in that tank and then you moved them around and then spread it around, ooh, even worse. Like spreading fire, slow fire you can't see. Better Great Lakes says a natural system like yours with exposed soil. When you set it up, how long before you add fish? So it really depends. It's always good to give, anytime you give your tank as much time as possible to marinate before you put fish in is always good. And always start off with just a couple fish, but like I could do it minimally within like that day. I mean, having well water. If you have dechlorinated water or chlorinated water, it could be a little different because it takes it a little more time to mature. If it's coming out of my well, it's already somewhat alive with microorganisms. But say if that's the case, really could be a couple days. But I would give it at least a week, really, without trying to push it. I know sometimes we just want that tank or need that tank right away. And you can do that with old aquarium water. You can even do that with brand new tank water. I mean, brand new water. Like, I've seen fish live in buckets with just dechlorinated water. Now, they don't live for long if it doesn't have the beneficial bacteria to take care of their urine and their waste. That's when you come into problems with those sterile water environments, is when there's nothing to take care of its ammonia. So when you got a dirty tank like this, say a fish pees in here, it's like nothing for the environment. So I hope that helps you. King of DIY, thank you. I appreciate that. Pretty handsome yourself. Garrett Bruin says, OC, the adults won't become change, but will it affect offspring after the fact? Which is that? Oh, on the sapphires, interesting. We will definitely top 80. Does it affect older Madeca or just fry? As far as the chill, I, I think what usually happens is like the fry won't really be popping up through the winter, and the fish, the adults kind of hibernate, so you just won't have much there. Now, if the fry will survive depends on how strong they are, how they grow out. There's a few factors. So the survival of the strongest. All right, I said I would be off of here at the 45-minute mark. It is the 48-minute mark, and I do gotta go. But I appreciate all you guys, and thank you so much for the support. Yes, and King of DIY, thank you for mentioning to hit that thumbs up. I'm not really the best at that, so if you do that, that would be great. We got 47 in here, 47 thumbs up, and you was late, buddy, but that happens. Still glad that you could jump in and say hi. But I'm gonna hop off here. Till next time, everybody. Peace. Have a good one. Da 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 da.